Welcome to the 7th installment of our greenhouse build, where I will show you how we finished out the greenhouse portion of our greenhouse. The first step for this portion was bringing in multiple loads of pea-sized gravel for the floor. Having the rock down in the bottom here, what the rock does is it warms up during the day with the sun, and then it holds that heat and slowly releases it during the night. So it kind of makes it so that the nighttime temperatures are a little more temperate, so there's not the large swings of temperature. So it just helps with that a little bit. We ended up coming up with the idea to use one of our kids' slides as a way to deliver our gravel to the inside of our greenhouse from the truck, and it actually worked really well. For us, we're doing about 4 inches of gravel in here, so that's going to take us probably about 4 loads. We've got 2 loads already, and the next one will fill out the bottom, but I think it'll take 1 more to actually get it all the right depth. We got some large flat paver stones because we like the gravel, but it does move quite a bit when you are stepping on it, and we felt like it would be really hard to keep the greenhouse tables nice and level. If it was on the gravel itself, we felt like they would sink. And we thought about doing some brick or something underneath them. In the end, this is what we decided to go with, and I'm really glad that we did. I think it looks super cute. When I put them in, I just try to get them approximately the same kind of shape on the edges. Now, if it's a little bit too big or not quite right for that location, then you can chip some of the edge of it off, which is always a shame because they're not an inexpensive rock. And then just, kind of get it to work. It's kind of like making a little puzzle, and you just kind of leave room for the gravel in between them and try to make it as level as you can. One of the difficulties with using the reclaimed doors is that we have all kinds of holes in the door itself. And so what we've done is we've created a plate to go over both sides, and I'm just going to glue that on and then use the finishing nailer to attach it as well. I'm finishing up the last of the painting. All that needs to be done is that trim needs a second coat. It makes it so that everything else kind of has that whitewashed look, whereas the trim itself will be a little more bright white and stand out a little more in comparison. Now it's time to start doing some of the finishing touches and putting on my outlet covers and my light switch covers. There's still more to do, but we're getting closer. I'm getting ready to put in my little elevator basket for the kids so that they can bring stuff up to the loft a little bit easier so they don't have to climb the ladder with their hands full. I put an eye screw down just below so that the rope wouldn't go too far and be extra long and in the way. This worked out fabulously because the basket is just far enough away from the wall that I don't have to worry about it hitting anything, but it will still make it easier for the kids to get things up into the loft as opposed to having to try and carry them while they're coming up the ladder. Because we're using antique doorknobs, the holes that are in a standard door don't match up with what we need. So what I'm having to do is going ahead and covering them with a little sheet of thin plywood, but it can't be too thick is the difficulty, because then it would be too much distance in between the 2 knobs and they wouldn't connect properly. So this is a little bit tricky sometimes trying to make those antiques work, but I love how they look so much that I think it's worth it. Because I needed furnishings for inside my greenhouse, I decided to turn my daughter's old art desk into a potting bench. If you want to see all the details, you can go ahead and look at my video that I did on this. It ended up working just perfectly for me. Now that I've got my potting bench done, it's time to put together my grow tables. I need to make 6 of them so that I have 4 for on the inside and 2 for on the outside for when I'm hardening off. If you want to see how to do this in detail, go ahead and take a look at my video on how to make grow tables. Now that my tables are done, it's time to start putting up my shelving. I've started putting up some of my braces already. All that I did is I measured down 23 inches from the top of that 2x4, and I started putting the braces there. That should match up with 3 of the levels of boards that are going across, and the other 2 windows will be blocked just a little bit. I picked up these decorative cast iron shelf brackets. I'm pretty happy with them. And then I'll just have to see what I want to put on top. I have my boards all ready for my shelves. These are kind of great because they're extra thick. They're rough cut 1.5 by 3.5 and 48 inches long. So this will make it so that I can add 4 different shelves in my greenhouse, and I'll just do 2 boards on each shelf. It should be great. There were just a couple of the boards that I had to cut down so much that it had the newer wood look, so I did have to stain them to make them look older. And if you need to see how to do that, go ahead and take a look at this video link, and that should help you. And then all you do is you use anywhere from 50 to 80 grit sandpaper to just kind of rough it up a little bit so that you can see more of the grain of the wood through the coloring, and just kind of do your edges. Gives it a little more dimension. If you're using cast iron supports like I am, my cast iron supports are just a little bit bigger than these boards. So I'm separating them by just a little bit so that the board comes right to the tip of the brace, and then the other one goes right up against the wall. So there'll be a little gap there. The one downside with putting these shelves up is there's the potential for them to shade the things that are under them a little bit. So there's pluses and minuses, but there's more room for me to put things. So that's pretty big for me. I'm so happy with my completed greenhouse. Don't forget to keep an eye out for our completed greenhouse tour.